Well, good afternoon, everyone. Happy game day, happy hump day. It's a lot warmer in here than it is outside, blowing a gale. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brendan Smith. I'm the state political reporter from 10 News First, and I'm thrilled to be the MC and moderator for today's Queensland Media Club. Today it's all about playing to win, Queensland's game plan for an energy transition, featuring the Honourable Mick de Brenni, Minister for Energy and Clean Energy Jobs. With the state's abundance of natural resources and talented people, Minister de Brenni is dedicated to leveraging these to ensure the renewable energy boom continues to deliver cheaper, cleaner energy for all Queenslanders. He's an advocate for quality jobs in prosperous communities and has been working with government, community, unions, business and industry to roll out the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan, the Miles government's bold vision for a decarbonised future. Mick was the world's first dedicated hydrogen minister and procurement minister tasked with overseeing the development of local government supply chains capable of strengthening Queensland businesses and global decarbonisation. Mick is committed to decent and stable government that delivers on the priorities of every Queenslander. He's a father of 2 young kids, husband of a high school principal for disengaged youth, a unionist, and when the time permits, a surfer. Please join me in welcoming Minister de Brenni to the stage.
Well, it is State of Origin Decider Day. Welcome everybody. Can I commence by acknowledging the original custodians of the land on which we gather today and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you, Brendan, for the kind introduction. Can I also acknowledge other special guests that are here today? Can I acknowledge the staff here from our government-owned corporations? Can I acknowledge the leadership of the Department of Energy and Climate and its staff here today? Can I acknowledge Sarah Zelko, the Chair of Energy Queensland, our biggest player in Queensland? Can I welcome all of the captains of industry from sectors including, of course, energy, resources, agriculture, tourism, waste, all of the other industries which make the Queensland economy so strong. Can I acknowledge as well the sponsors and congratulate the addition of the new sponsors to the Media Club, and of course can I thank the Media Club and its members for having me here and all of us here today. It's good to see so many of you wearing the colours. Stephen, great, he got the memo there. Many people are sporting maroon, and I'm taking this opportunity today with this Media Club address to get into the Origin spirit. And getting into the Origin spirit by looking at the energy transition in the context of this annual epic battle between Queensland and New South Wales. If reducing emissions through energy transition was a competition, which state would be on top? Who's got the best solar uptake? Who has the best plan for the transition? Spoiler alert, it's going to be Queensland. Now, Queenslanders are already winners after the incredible efforts of our Women's State of Origin team. The Maroons have done us proud in the women's game, and I know we're all expecting equally good things from the men's team tonight. As Queenslanders, we are passionate about the Origin, and we're also passionate about proving those Southerners who underestimate us wrong too.
Now they've lost their first 2 matches very convincingly, the Queenslanders, and they've got to make some sort of a fist of tonight's game. That's the story.
45 years ago, most of Australia had written Queensland off. They said that we couldn't do it. Year after year and game after game, Queensland got smashed by New South Wales. We were smashed because New South Wales clubs were making big money off poker machines and they were buying Queensland's best players. Back then, when you were picking your state side, you were restricted to where players were currently playing, not where they came from. But in 1980, that all changed. It changed with a proposal to base the teams on their state of origin instead of their current clubs. And New South Wales was scathing. You can see a quote up here on the screen, referring to us as hillbillies here in Premier Joe's Banana Land. They talked about it as a match without much meaning. Then, according to former Australian Test captain Bob Fulton, he said rugby league's non-event of the century will be staged in Brisbane next month. He went on to say a totally useless state of origin clash between New South Wales and Queensland. Well, how wrong were they?
There's a full-time hooter and it's all over. Queensland have defeated New South Wales by 20 points to 10 after they led by 9 points to 5 at half.
That footage behind us shows the absolute drubbing between Queensland, the drubbing that Queensland meted out in 1980. Artie Beetson led the Maroons onto Lang Park for the very first state of origin, and the first points were scored by our very own Bundaberg-born Mal Meninga. The first match, as you saw, finished with Queensland thrashing New South Wales 20 points to 10. The first time the Maroons had beaten the Blues since 1975, and we have never looked back. And I'm sharing this little bit of history today to demonstrate the long-standing underestimation of Queensland by our southern neighbours, especially New South Wales. We have been the butt of their jokes for decades. They called us a banana republic. They described us as the redneck state. We even had southerners calling for a Quexit after Bill Shorten lost the 2019 election, if you can remember. So it's really no surprise we were cast previously as Australia's renewable energy laggard. And it is true, we started well behind the pack. Queensland accounts for 30% of the nation's emissions, and there's good reason for that. We've got the most coal. We have a lot of gas here in Queensland, a lot of alumina. We have the most cattle. Almost 50% of our nation's cattle herd is here in Queensland, happily burping away out in paddocks every day. We are the most decentralised mainland state. 51% of our population live outside of our capital, Brisbane. We are the most dependent on long-range transport. We have 64 safeguard facilities here in our state, 29.6% of the nation's total, emitting over 100,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. And we're also home to some of Australia's most colourful, or we might say notorious politicians. Pauline Hanson, Clive Palmer, Bob Katter, Campbell Newman, we heard from Sir Joe before. So it's really not surprising that we've had a record of being the highest emitting state in Australia too. And Australia is the most carbon intensive nation in the OECD. But friends, that is changing, and it's changing quickly. And it's changing because here in Queensland, we have changed our starting lineup. So I want us to take a look at our lineup. You can have the best players in the world, but without a good coach, you're not going to be a coordinated team. The Maroons have Billy Slater. He's gone from being a speedster to our strategic mastermind. He's out there coaching the players, getting amongst it, making a plan. And just like Billy thinks ahead, studies the field and looks for opportunities, Stephen Miles is looking out for Queensland. He finds ways to protect jobs, protect the environment and keep Queensland prosperous. He is aiming high and you all know that he is getting results. So, see that asterisk there? That means that New South Wales doesn't actually have a renewable energy target. But we've looked at all of their projections, and with the best maths we can muster, New South Wales falls short. As you can see from the table, we are smashing. Queensland is smashing New South Wales when it comes to setting goals for renewables and emissions reductions. And like any good coach, Premier Miles is working hard to attain those goals by pulling together the best possible team. And no, I'm not just talking about the front bench, of course. He's assembling an outstanding field of publicly owned energy generation assets, all of which are delivering for Queensland. I want to show you the team. Let's start with the backs. Your full-backs are the anchors of your team. They're perfectly placed to direct the forwards, tell the lock where to distribute the ball and deliver the wins that Queenslanders cherish. They're flashy, they're highly skillful, quick off the mark. Reece Walsh here is the fresh new face of rugby league in Queensland and the future of our game. Anchoring the energy team in the position of fullback is the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. Like Reece, the Energy and Jobs Plan is a relatively new player, but it has already entered the Hall of Fame and is key to a glorious future. In February, The Guardian acknowledged, and I quote, underpinned by its $62 billion September 2022 Energy and Jobs Plan, Queensland is now setting the pace, on track to leapfrog the federal government's legislated emissions reduction pathway of 43% by 2030. The authors went on to note, Queensland's not just undergoing an energy transition, but a complete transformation from a legacy petrostate to a renewable energy superpower. And it's all thanks to us having the most comprehensive energy and jobs plan and the clearest pathway to get us there. Thanks to our plan, we have now almost 5,000 megawatts of large-scale renewable capacity here in Queensland. Nearly another 2,500 megawatts currently committed or under construction. Our pipeline is strong. We have delivered serious financial policy and program commitments, including $26 billion, a record $26 billion over the forward estimates for energy and decarbonisation in the Miles government's first budget. It's clear our fullbacks, in the form of Reece Walsh or in the Energy and Jobs Plan, have the goods to win this Origin clash, ably assisted by our agile, speedy, point-scoring halfbacks. They're on the field, saving heaps, just like our Solar. Let's have a look at our halfbacks. Queensland has the best halfbacks and the best 5'8". We've got Daly Cherry Evans, who'll lead the team out tonight. We've got Alfie Langer, 34 State of Origin matches. Darren Lockyer, 36. The King himself, Wally Lewis, who represented his state 31 times. And Jonathan Thurston, who represented the Maroons 37 times. But this is a tremendous moment.
Coming back. 18-16.
He wills it through the post.
Unbelievable. What a player, what a goal kicker. Now Queensland have to watch out for the short kick-off because it'll be on.
So I wonder if we'll see a moment like that tonight. I very much hope that we will. Our halfbacks are the ones generating the plays. They're the faces that we all recognise. And if you look at Queensland and see what form of renewable most people have embraced, you'll see that solar is way ahead of the pack. As the Sunshine State, it's of course no surprise that we are best placed for solar generation. That's why Queenslanders have embraced rooftop solar at home. Clean Energy Council data shows Queensland was the first state, the first to cross the 1 million solar installations threshold, or tri-line, back in November last year. And New South Wales is a bit behind us. They're expected to limp across that tri-line this month. That's despite them having almost 1.5 million more households in their state than here. According to Roy Morgan Research, 37.9% of Queensland households have solar installed, compared to just 26.6% in New South Wales. Our residential, commercial and industrial solar is now the largest power generator in the state, with a capacity equivalent to the state's 4 biggest coal-fired power stations combined. Like Wally, Thurston, Langer, Lockyer and Cherry Evans, solar rooftops keep going day after day, play after play. Now next we want to have a look at the all-important position of our hookers. Generating even more power and reliability, Queenslanders know they can trust great hookers like Cameron Smith, the mightiest of men who played an outstanding 42 State of Origin matches over his career. The hooker's job is to generate play alongside the halfbacks, but they have the grunt and the power of a front rower. Just like the grunt and delivery of our extremely reliable solar farms. Now, you've probably all read recently the article published in The Economist. 3 weeks ago, on the exponential rise globally of solar power. The authors found that global solar installed capacity was doubling every 3 years, growing tenfold each decade. And their conclusion? They said that solar cells in all likelihood will be the single biggest source of electrical power on the planet by the mid-2030s. By the 2040s, the largest source, not just of electricity, but of all energy. Here in Queensland, our government-owned corporations have power purchase agreements with solar farms, including the Western Downs Green Power Hub, the Waluga Solar Farm, the Columbula Solar Farm, and under construction, the Aldoga Solar Farm, ensuring their prodigious energy generation powers Queensland homes and businesses every single day. And when we're thinking about renewable energy projects, it's important not just to think in terms of their size and their generation, but also in terms of the jobs that they provide. That's why today I'm going to include the name and profile of a worker from each of our projects, because they are the heroes who are building our clean energy future. Workers like this Queenslander here, Jamie Lyon, and no, he is not the former New South Wales Centre and Manly Seagull skipper. This Jamie is out working on the Mara Solar Farm in Banana Shire, which is producing enough clean energy to power more than 43,000 Queensland homes each day. Now we move along to our centres. Centres have a touch of flashiness, but they are solid all-rounders too. Players like Mal Meninga, who played an awesome 32 State of Origin matches for Queensland. And if you're looking at a solid all-rounder with a dash of flair, you can't go past Queensland's wind farms. We'll add around 12,000 megawatts of capacity across our renewable energy zones with wind farms. And Steve here is a construction manager, you can see, working on the Wombo Wind Farm, which is currently under construction in the Diamundi district of Western Downs. When his team has finished their work, Wombo's 83 turbines will generate enough clean energy to power the equivalent of 312,000 Queensland homes. Now, we've seen the power of Queensland's solar and wind. Now it's time to look at our wingers. Who doesn't love a winger? They always make the flashy highlight reel, like Xavier Coates making that incredible cartwheel try.
Play back for Fred. Now for Cherry Evans, and he goes long. Here's Gagai out there. Good. Oh, yes, Coates. Coates is
I hope everyone's getting into the Origin spirit. Now, it's not the best news that Xavier's unfortunately out of tonight's game. He's got a hamstring injury, I'm told. But we'll all be wanting to see Val Holmes ground the ball, just like all of Queensland wants to see our hydrogen industry succeed. Now, we have the nation's most established hydrogen project, CQH2, putting our team, the Queensland team, in a great position for a try scored from central Queensland's industrial heartland city, Gladstone. And near Chinchilla, CS Energy's Brigalow Peaking Power Plant will be Queensland's first hydrogen-ready natural gas power station, providing crucial firming capacity to support the transition to renewable energy. The up to 400 megawatt power station will be capable of operating on 35% green hydrogen initially, with a pathway to 100% operation on hydrogen over time. And this is Andrew. He is the future energy development lead at the Brigalow and a self-confessed energy nerd. There's probably a few of those here today. He lives and breathes renewable energy. He's responsible for all of the steps from initial concept through to putting a shovel in the ground and starting construction. So we're halfway through the team. We've met the backs, now it's time to look at our forwards in the Origin game and on the renewable energy field. Queensland has produced two of the greatest props of all time, Shane Webke and Glenn Lazarus. All power, strength, grit, just like our pumped hydro. Pumped hydro in Queensland is our front row. It's our muscle, getting us on the front foot, supporting the team. It does the hard yards, which is why it's often known as our engine room. And just like Webke and Lazarus, pumped hydro underpins the success of the whole team. Today, the long duration storage that only pumped hydro can provide is the only affordable and proven means to escape reliance on coal. Trish here is the project director on the Pioneer Burdekin project, and Tash is the Executive General Manager, Communities Engagement for Queensland Hydro. Tash is keeping the proposed 2,000 megawatt Barumba pumped hydro energy storage project on track, delivering around-the-clock clean, sustainable energy to Queenslanders in the future. Trish will deliver Pioneer Burdekin, the powerhouse of our transition, with a compact footprint, an incredibly compact footprint, but great capacity, some of the world's greatest capacity. Pioneer Burdekin will rise from rock-solid foundations. It will pump 5,000 megawatts of energy into the grid. It'll keep the lights on when they're needed most and provide critical reliability and stability as Queensland transitions to our renewable energy future. The slide up there compares Queensland's Pioneer Burdekin with New South Wales' Snowy Hydro 2.0. And from the graph there, from the slide, you can see that Pioneer Burdekin is way ahead of Snowy on all measures and at all levels. This is evidence of another big win for Queensland. So let's go from our props to our locks. You can't make your play without a lock. Think of Corey Parker, such a reliable pair of hands, a trusty distributor of the ball where and when it's needed the most. The lock's always there, crucial in transitioning the ball from the forwards out to the back line. Well, that's the role of our transmission in the renewable energy landscape, connecting our power generators to more than 5 million Queenslanders. And we have got the best lock in the world, and that is Powerlink. And today, I want to make this announcement. Because of the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan, remember, Reece Walsh equivalent, and our lock, Powerlink, we are making one of the most significant savings in Australian transmission construction history. It's not often ministers come to a crowd like this and say that we're going to make something smaller. But because of the way that we've designed our supergrid transmission network, the Australian Energy Market Operator and the CEO of Powerlink have advised that we've eliminated up to 700 kilometres of transmission lines. This will save Queenslanders literally billions and billions of dollars. It's because we've taken a coordinated approach to our energy transition. And whilst we're making this huge saving, we are also delivering the biggest project of its kind in the nation. We broke ground in Hewenden last week, starting the construction project Copperstring, the most substantial project ever undertaken by Powerlink, connecting Mount Isa to the national electricity market through a high voltage line through to Townsville. This will be the largest addition to the national electricity grid since the state of Tasmania was added in 2006. And this is Vikram. He's the construction director at Copperstring, supervising the build of 840 kilometres of backbone transmission line, delivering over 2,200 towers and supporting 800 jobs in construction. This project is expected to unlock $500 billion worth of critical minerals, create jobs and opportunities in regional Queensland communities for literally generations to come. And on the playing field after the lock comes the edge forward. Powerhouses like our Sam Thaiday. Slamming Sam is one of the most talented forwards to have ever worn that maroon jersey. And our edge forwards are good with the occasional offload, busting a tackle, creating a break, ready to fill those gaps in the play. And they are like our household community and big batteries. Local network-connected batteries are like Queensland's front row forwards. They're taking the tough carries for the renewable energy transition around the state, storing excess energy produced by that amazing rooftop solar and connecting to our high voltage network. And CleanCo is progressing a big battery as part of developing the Swanbank Clean Energy Hub in Ipswich. And this is Flower. She's a senior mechanical plant engineer at Swanbank. She's building the 250 megawatt, 500 megawatt battery that will provide enough energy for more than 2/3 of Ipswich for 2 hours each and every single night. Construction's already underway, with the first of 138 battery modules anticipated to arrive in October, with energisation expected in mid-2025. And then there's our local renewable energy zone batteries. Our local renewable energy zone batteries are creating opportunities for renters across Queensland, giving them a chance in broken play. We're investing right now $80 million in pilot projects, putting rooftops at the centre of the renewable energy transition, working hand in hand with Energy Queensland's local network connected batteries. The LRESs, as we've called them, will share the benefits of renewable energy among all customers, especially those who haven't been able to invest in solar power themselves, like renters, vulnerable consumers, and those who live in Queensland's burgeoning unit complexes. And from just a few months from now, January 2025, households with rooftop solar will be able to transfer the energy that they generate during the day into these local batteries powering homes and small businesses in their very own communities in the evening when energy use is at its peak, bringing down energy bills and emissions. And today, speaking of batteries, I'm very pleased to announce that CS Energy's Chinchilla Big Battery, a 100 megawatt 2-hour battery, is fully operational. This is a huge step by CS Energy to create a clean energy hub around the existing Kogan Creek Power Station site. And I want to thank everybody who's worked so tirelessly to make that happen. Chinchilla is now the largest government-owned battery to energise in Queensland. So there we have it, the incredibly impressive lineup. But before I go to questions, we mustn't forget the reserves. And the biggest player in the Queensland reserves is gas. We bring it on when we need it because we know that it always performs. But we are careful when we use it. Now, we've all seen the impact that players like Harry Grant have on the team when they are injected into the game. Well, that's what gas will be doing in Queensland. It's a big industry and it can shore up our team, supporting us when we go through periods of high demand and when we need a boost. We can count on gas to plug the holes in play. And I also just want to reflect on some former Origin greats. Queensland's former Origin greats would have to be our coal-fired power stations. We know that retirement is imminent for them, but they are still serving us well. Players like Cameron Smith, with his 42 Origin games, they've won Statesman Awards for their consistency and power. As a result of our coal-fired power stations, Queensland is the most secure network in the national electricity market, and public ownership of them gives us a significant advantage in achieving this reliability. It enables us to get the sequence right and the timing right when it does come to switching them off. And it allows us to maintain the parallel systems while we transition to renewables, guaranteeing reliability. And without our former Origin greats, Queensland will not have the prosperity that we enjoy today. We appreciate the work that they've done, and we appreciate them for the work that they will continue to do in our transition. That's why they are training right now to transform into our clean energy hubs. And so what this scoreboard shows you is that Queensland has a clear plan to exit coal, while New South Wales is scrambling to keep coal in the game. We have a clear plan for public ownership and a conversion schedule. In contrast with our southern neighbours who have what could only be described as a market-driven mess, extending coal power stations long into the game. Now, speaking of tonight, remember Paul, the match-predicting octopus back in the FIFA 2010 World Cup? Well, we have our own version of the octopus right here. We've looked at the comparison between the renewable energy portion of generation mix in New South Wales and Queensland across the 2024 Origin series. And this is what we found. Game one, Queensland had 20.2% renewables to New South Wales just 16.2% renewables, which equals a Queensland victory. Game two, 26th of June 2024. Queensland 19% renewables in the generation mix to New South Wales 26%. We all remember that. That was a win for the Blues. So how are we looking for game three? What are the stats so far today? Well, looking at the current mix on the national energy market, Queensland is leading at 22% renewables to 18%, and we're just at half-time. Things are looking great for the Maroons tonight. Now, I want to go on to my match predictions. When it comes to the state election, Premier Miles remains the underdog, but Queensland will lead the nation to victory on decarbonisation, on jobs and on a future made in Australia. Clean and green, maroon as well. That's what Queensland is about. Kicking goals now and into the future. And tonight, I predict that Slater's boys will get over the line by 2 points. And so before I go, I wanted to let you know and reassure you that earlier today I apologised to New South Wales Minister Penny Sharp in advance for both this presentation today and the result tonight. And she asked me to pass on this message. She said, "Tell them I disagree, but I love Queensland's work anyway. Also," she says, "privatisation is bad." Thanks very much, everyone.
Well, a little birdie did tell me this would be very Origin heavy today, so I wore my maroon tie. I'd like to thank my friends at TK Maxx for offering up cost of living measures for tie purchases. So, Minister, just kicking off, obviously in the last hour or so, we've seen the CFMEU has been put into administration, the Queensland branch of the CFMEU. What's your initial response to that?
So, thanks, Brendan. And thank you for addressing the colours as well. It's a very, very serious matter, obviously. I've been a member of a trade union my entire working life. In fact, since I was about 14 years old. Very proud of my union membership. And so to hear the allegations coming out of Victoria, I'm deeply saddened by those. I understand the Prime Minister has made some significant announcements and the matter will proceed through those court processes.
Now, tomorrow it marks 100 days until the state election. Most of the journos are looking forward to it, unless you're on the opposition plane, and they're generally a lot smaller. It's interesting, the last election, I think the plane I was on dropped out of the sky for a few metres. It was quite meme-worthy considering what ended up happening. I won't tell you which plane I was on. But marking that 100-day milestone tomorrow, obviously the government's already announced a number of cost of living measures, including that $1,000 energy rebate. Is there anything else in the kitty for Queensland families or businesses?
Well, I think it is very important to acknowledge that very significant energy rebate. That's hitting people's accounts right now. I've been talking to lots of the constituents that I have the privilege of representing, and they have been telling me what a massive difference that is making to them. Almost everybody that I've spoken to has said, my power bill is now zero, and they're expecting that to go through until at least Christmas. That's taking huge pressure off households. In terms of what's coming next, Queenslanders will see 20% off their rego. So rego renewals being received from the 5th of August will go down 20%. Your car, your ute, your trailer, and then those 50-cent fares start. In my neighbourhood, we have lots of working families, and almost all of them that have those opportunities to pick up those fair play vouchers have been doing so, and they're so relieved that we're taking the edge off the struggles that many families are feeling. In terms of announcements beyond those, I'll have to leave those to the Premier. But we've already demonstrated, and I think Premier Miles has already demonstrated, he is absolutely doing what matters for Queenslanders. We know that families are struggling with things like their mortgage and their rent. Certainly groceries are incredibly expensive at the moment, and we have done a lot of heavy lifting. It's the largest cost of living relief package ever delivered by a state in a nation's history.
And now we'll open up questions to the media table.
G'day. I'm Minister Tim Avia from 9 News. You've gone heavy on the Origin feature today, and thanks for the promo for 9 News. Just wondering, if you were to equate the CFMEU to a State of Origin player, who would it be?
Well, I think the problem that we're seeing, I hope, is isolated to Victoria. So I have to, maybe equate it to one of the Victorian AFL players that I don't like. I wanted to, have some fun with the energy transition today, but what we've seen reported out of Victoria is incredibly serious. And I know that the media around the nation is reporting it that way. It is deeply saddening to see those allegations being made.
You appointed you appointed Jade Ingham to be on the QBCC board. Do you have any regrets about making that appointment?
I haven't seen that there has been any specific allegations made in relation to that individual. I think the Prime Minister has been decisive. He's instructed his Industrial Relations Minister to respond to that and to take action. Given that there are serious matters before the courts, I won't get into observations about individuals or specific cases, other than to say it's a very, very serious matter. Trade unions have an incredibly important role to play in Australian society and around the world. They are responsible for the conditions that most Australian workers enjoy, and they have been responsible for delivering, I think, very, very solid and positive outcomes for Queenslanders and Australians. They ought to be able to remain focused on delivering for their members, and what we've seen in Victoria makes that difficult for them to do. Of course, my support for the broader trade union remains as strong as ever.
G'day, Michael McKenna here from the Australian newspaper. Earlier today, the Brady report into the catastrophic fail and explosion of Callide C in 2021 was released, and also the problems with the towers. The Brady report has shown that that there was a maintenance backlog, that there was complete failure with its critical risk program, which was identified as an issue in 2016. There was a program to toughen that up in 2018. It didn't go ahead. It was starved. According to the report, it was under-resourced and starved of funding, so much so that the people that were running that program quit. And now we're hearing that there were tensions with the joint venturers, with Callide Energy Proprietary Limited that was running it. So I want to ask you, this asset generated a fifth of the electricity. Labor came into power on the back of keeping these assets in government hands and to keep the prices down. The explosion led to the prices going up, and as I said, it's evident that there are a range of problems with the facility. I'm going to labour the already laboured analogy and say, did you take your eye off the ball?
So, Michael, there's a number of elements to your question, and there are plenty of people here in the room who've been, following this case for some time. And I think we should look at what has been released today as an opportunity. There are leaders of industry here. If you're in heavy industry today, if you're in manufacturing, if you're in transport, I think that report released today should be a wake-up call for all Australian corporations. The question that should be happening, or the conversation that should be happening around corporate boardroom tables today, being led by their chairs, through to their CEOs and their executive leadership teams, are our process safety management systems up to scratch? Because that was ultimately what that report finds, is that was the cause of this incident, process safety systems. Yes, it did recognise that there was problems in other parts of the business as well, a number of problems, but inherently our obligations when you find out these sorts of things that we did today is to think about how we respond as a nation, and we all do better. And so I would urge corporations that are here today, I'd urge corporations around Australia to take this opportunity and ask themselves, are our process safety systems up to scratch?
You didn't answer the question. Did you take your eye off the ball? Did the other mandating shareholding ministers take their eye off the ball? And is it time for some ministerial responsibility? This is a major asset. Prices went up as a result of this. Do you take responsibility, and do you take responsibility as a cabinet minister in the government?
So, Michael, there's a few things in your question and your opening statement there as well. So, we recognise that Queenslanders value their publicly owned assets. I will take responsibility for ensuring that the action plan that has been released by CS Energy today is fully implemented. That's what is important to ensure going forward. The statement made by the CS Energy Chair and CEO today was unequivocal as well. They took full responsibility as the operational leadership of the organisation for the incidents that occurred. When it comes to energy prices in Australia, Queensland households and small businesses pay amongst, or if not, the lowest retail bills of anywhere in Australia by a country mile. That is supported by those record cost of living rebates that we've provided, funded by progressive coal royalties. But everybody in this room who's involved in the energy sector knows that there were several global factors that led to fluctuations in the market. Not the least was the illegal invasion of Ukraine, the following suspension of the market, high prices for coal and gas, and then significant weather events.
The Queensland Competition Authority said after the explosion that this led to an increase in the wholesale price.
That's not what Queenslanders pay on their bill though, Michael.
Okay. Just one other question. Last month when the draft came out, you seemed to use the modern parlance, throw Jim Sawley under the bus, saying that he had given you the incorrect information. But your government appointed him. The Brady report found that of the 5 people on the board, only one had power operational experience. He had no experience in safety, which you said, process safety, which you said was really important.
Yep.
He had no other experience. Do you think it was still a good idea to have appointed someone like Jim Sawley, who seems to have only qualification was that he was a Labor guy?
Michael, I'm not going to dwell on the past. It's been well canvassed by the report, and I think CS has been really clear in their statement today that they've delivered and spoken to. I have appointed an engineer to be the chair of CS Energy. He is one of Queensland or Australia's most revered engineers in this space. That is the decision that I have taken to ensure that going forward, this asset is in good hands.
Minister James Hall from the Financial Review, thanks for your address today. Industry figures have said that the best practice industry conditions have added 30% to some projects. Is that a fair calculation? And are you worried or are you concerned that this BPIC escalation effect will jeopardise the renewable energy transition, given the projects apply?
No, I'm very confident that what our arrangements for workforce on our major infrastructure projects, including our energy projects, will deliver is the quality workforce to build quality infrastructure that will last. Now, it's a pretty competitive market globally for the types of individuals and tradespeoples, project managers, engineers that we need to deliver Queensland and Australia's renewable energy transition. Making sure that they're paid well ensures that we're able to attract them and keep them here to do that work. I don't agree with the estimations that some industry bodies have put on the cost impacts, but at the end of the day, our job and what Queenslanders have asked us to do is to transition Queensland's economy. And if you want to consider cost, the cost of not attracting a workforce to deliver that transition would see massive losses of manufacturing enterprises right across Queensland. The biggest employers, particularly in heavy manufacturing, are saying to us, if this state cannot deliver them clean, renewable energy, not nuclear, they want clean, reliable, renewable energy, and we can't do that in the near term, then they will leave this country. We're not about to let those big employers, particularly in regional Queensland, walk away because we weren't able to deliver them these projects. And that's what our suite of measures is designed to do, is to keep those big employers here in regional Queensland employing regional Queenslanders.
Minister, Alex Brewster from ABC News. CS Energy gave a short press conference this morning after the damning report was released. They quickly exited without taking questions, despite only prior saying they wanted to rebuild trust. How can they do that when they won't even answer simple questions from the media?
Yeah, so I know that the chair and CEO read a prepared statement, and they were clear, I think, to the media attending that that's all that they were able to do. Understand that they did that based on their own legal advice. I have alternative advice in respect of what I can say, and so I'm here today to take all of your questions that you weren't able to put to them. I'm very, very happy to answer them now or at any time in the future.
Mr. Debreni Madura from the Courier Mail. You've been Energy Minister since 2020. Did you not at any point in your numerous dealings with CS Energy come to suspect it was a significantly troubled organisation? And what does that say of your leadership?
Thanks very much, Madura. Of course, I saw the explosion of the C4 turbine as a concerning incident. The collapse of the cooler tower was concerning. Those incidents led me to have some very significantly robust conversations with the leadership of the organisation. I have made it clear that those robust conversations were ongoing. Those individuals, whilst I did not terminate them, they decided to leave, and I didn't encourage them to stay. I appointed a new board. We appointed a new CEO. The interesting thing, though, Madura, is I'm also the shareholding minister for several other GOCs to whom I provide the same strategic instructions about how they are to deliver for Queenslanders. They haven't had these problems. The problems that have been identified are specific to that organisation, and as the report that was released today indicates, they are problems primarily around process safety, which is why I reiterate this is the opportunity for every corporation in Australia to consider, are their process safety systems up to scratch?
Just on BPIX, you might remember that the Townsville Stadium was one of the first projects, if not the first projects, in which BPIX were installed. It was partway through the project. It increased that project's cost by about $40 million from memory. Numerous projects have now blown out in cost, including because of the BPIC, as outlined in multiple RTI documents. How can the government continue to ignore or deny that BPIC has had a significant impact on the cost of projects in Queensland?
Well, the cost of projects include the cost of materials. Everybody knows that there has been a significant escalation through and post-COVID. Anyone who's building a home or building anything knows that. The other cost component, major cost component, is the cost of labour. And we have decided that on those major projects, to ensure that we retain and attract an appropriately skilled workforce, that we would reward them with decent pay and conditions and ensure safe systems of work. And we have paid for that and we have budgeted for that. It is not correct to characterise the way in which we have applied our intent to ensure that workers are paid well as anything other than what Queenslanders would expect. Queenslanders want to see people building their iconic infrastructure, do it in a safe way, and that they're rewarded appropriately.
Minister Savannah Meacham from Australian Associated Press. The Brady report found that CS Energy did not value safety before the Callide explosion. How confident are you that this attitude has changed, and should the community and workers have confidence in its operations going forward?
Well, I'm much more confident now that we've appointed a new board and a new CEO. You'll see today that they've released an action plan. They've made a very clear statement expressing their understanding of how they need to do better. That's what gives me confidence that they will do better.
Andrew from The Guardian, last month you said the board of CS had guaranteed all the statutory and other maintenance had been done on Callide in their ministerial briefings with you, which is why you told Parliament the same.
That's right.
And the words you used were unequivocally, they confirmed everything that needed to be done had been done. Earlier today, Chair Adam Aspinall said, and I'm quoting him, the information which CS Energy used to brief the government was ambiguous and did not include commentary on the maturity of CS Energy's process safety management systems or details of the management backlog. Which is true? Is it ambiguous or was it unambiguous?
Well, you've read what was provided to me in the days and weeks following that incident. I faithfully relied on that advice, as ministers are entitled to do. When the draft Brady report was provided to me, it became quite clear to me that the advice that I was provided was not consistent with Dr. Brady's findings. And so that is why the Chair and the CEO have said that today. They have apologised to Queenslanders and understand that they've extended an apology to the government as well.
Right, but when you were provided advice in 2020, was that advice unequivocal or was it ambiguous?
Well, it's very clear. The advice is in response to a question that we put to them in writing was, what have you done in respect of properly maintaining this equipment? And it came back in writing multiple times that all of the required statutory obligations in respect of maintenance had been met, and that they in fact had gone further. And I think that everybody on that table has seen that written advice, and that's what we relied upon. It is disappointing that was not elevated to the board or myself in a way that allowed us to have a clear picture of what was occurring. And in fact, the report that was released today says that both internally and externally to the organisation, they presented an unrealistic picture, a picture of confidence that was inconsistent with what was actually going on in that workplace. That is disappointing, but the Chair and the CEO have acknowledged that. Our job now is to ensure that going forward that they deliver on the improvements that they've committed to.
Hi Minister, thank you for your speech. Rachel Baxter from Channel 7. Does the state government know what effect Dutton's nuclear plan will have on Queensland's power grid if it's implemented?
Well, I know what would happen under Dutton's plan. Everybody in this room knows that David Crisafulli would immediately roll over for Dutton if he was the leader of this state. Right? David Littleproud has said that he will force him to do that. I mean, that's the very real spectre that Queenslanders are faced with if there's a change of government later this year. The result of that would be that we would see coal being burned in this state for at least another 15 to 20 or possibly more years. I said earlier that some of the largest employers in Queensland have come to government, and they've been very public about this, that they have said if they can't get adequate, reliable, renewable energy in the near term, then they're leaving the state. Now that's what will occur. We will see that opportunity that we currently have, where we're seeing massive investment come in here, building renewable energy, new manufacturing enterprises starting up because we're able to move faster than New South Wales is on the clean energy transition. That would all be at risk under Dutton's nuclear plan. Now, we've seen today as well, the Australian government asked the question around what impact it would have on our agricultural sector in respect of water. So there are a range of questions that Peter Dutton can't answer, but the answer that we all know is that it would just see fossil fuels burning here in Queensland for decades longer. That means we miss the action on climate that Australians voted for. We miss the ability to attract and retain big industry here that supports a strong economy. That would be the result of Dutton's plan.
Michael McKenna back. Can you tell us on CS Energy how much did the cleanup and the rebuild of those issues at Callide cost the government? And how much in lost income from the shutdown?
So I think, Michael, you know that they are matters subject to a legal dispute between the joint venture partners. They're incredibly significant. The capital statements in our successive budgets have indicated what we have invested to replace the turbine and the cooling tower. They run into the hundreds of millions. It's not cheap to build power station assets of that type. Very significant investment on behalf of the government, but we chose to do that because we were committed to maintaining reliable electricity supply.
And are you confident CS Energy's taken the insurers to the court now that the Brady report has articulated these failings, at least at an operational and a board level, and you seem to be avoiding the ministerial level, but given that the Brady report has identified these failings, do you think that will affect your claim for insurance?
I have said that I will take full responsibility for ensuring that the business implements its action plan to improve its performance, 100%. I'm not going to be cornered into, however, making comments or observations that go to legal matters or on foot, as much as you probably would like me to, Michael, or as much as some of the participants in that litigation would like me to. It is best that ministers steer clear of commentary in relation to legal matters that are currently before the courts.
Minister Alex Brewster again. Will you release the business case for Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro before the election so Queenslanders can properly compare your strategy with the opposition's?
So we have said that we will release our detailed analytical reports into both the Barumba pumped hydro and the Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro once the contractual arrangements for the construction of both are settled, and that's not expected to be for 18 months or 2 years' time. So we will release those as soon as we're able to. To release them any sooner would compromise our negotiating position with contractors. We know, and Queenslanders know, that long duration storage is really important to firm up our renewables. The only proven way of doing that at scale is with pumped hydro.
Minister Madura again. The government announced Pioneer Burdekin pumped hydro without telling the people who would be affected before it happened. All those people who live in those houses that are set to go under, like the lost city of Atlantis, found out live on television news. Why did the state government choose to let go of its social license on this project before it even got going?
So Queensland Hydro is working very, very closely with the communities that are impacted. Governments are faced with challenging times when they deliver large infrastructure projects that impact on households or communities. At some point, you have to tell people. We chose to tell that community at the same time as we told all Queenslanders. And we've got, I think, a good relationship with local communities. Around 90% of the landholders in those impacted areas have either sold us their property or given us access to their property, and so the community is working well. Not everybody's a huge fan of it. We recognise that. Our job is to navigate the way forward with a position of transparency. We've established a stakeholder reference group. We're working very, very closely with that local community. We'll continue to navigate that with the best interests of all Queenslanders at heart.
Just to follow up on Alex's question on Pioneer, are you intending to go to the election on Pioneer without telling Queenslanders how much it's going to cost or what the business case is?
We haven't finished it yet, Tim, and so we're still working through. Queensland Hydro is still working through the costs. This is the largest...
Just to be clear, will you be making those clear to people, even an estimated cost, before the election?
Well, there has been an estimated cost talked about, certainly published in the Queensland media. We have been clear that it is important for a project of this scale, the most significant, whilst it has a small footprint, it is the most powerful energy storage scheme of its type anywhere in the world. We must do the detailed design work on that very, very carefully. This asset will be functional in Queensland for literally hundreds of years. Now, the engineers have said, and Queensland Hydro has said, they need to continue to work on those costings, and we have said that when those costings are complete, that we will go to market, that we'll commence construction of the project. It is on track. We can still meet our targets, and that when the contracts have been awarded for both Barumba and Pioneer Burdekin, we'll release all of those details just in the same way, in exactly the same way has been done for the Snowy project.
You made this announcement on the back, largely, is it true, of desktop reviews, not geotechnical studies. So have you? Is that true? And have you? When will you complete? Will you complete the geotechnical studies before the election? Because isn't it true that they might come up and show that it ain't going to work there?
So the decision to deliver the two pumped hydros, one at Barumba, which is just west of Gympie near Imbil on Lake Barumba, and the Pioneer Burdekin, which is in the Pioneer Valley, were based on many years of detailed analysis and research through universities, through an expert task force working with government through a range of government agencies. And it was a few months ago now that I did release the findings of the geotechnical investigations. And so what we found, and this is really great news for Queensland, is that we found just two types of solid rock, two types of the best granite that you're going to find anywhere on the planet. for that project. To compare that to Snowy 2, I think it has something like 30 different types of rock and soil. And so you've seen that tunnelling machine at Snowy get stuck because the roof fell in on it because it didn't have solid rock. At Pioneer Burdekin, we have the best rock that we could possibly hope for. And so what our engineers are doing at the moment at Queensland Hydro is they're considering, what are the options that gives us to actually enhance and improve the project now that we've seen that rock is so good.
On nuclear again.
One more.
Andrew from The Guardian.
Thank
Let's say a future federal government which is very keen on nuclear power comes along. We have a state ban on nuclear power in Queensland. Constitutionally, the federal government does not have an enumerated power over energy. Does that mean our ban wins? So David Littleproud, for instance, says he'll use federal powers to overturn a state ban and make Queensland or other states do nuclear. Do we win constitutionally? How does that work? Have you taken legal advice on that question?
Well, I don't think it comes down to legal advice. It comes down to who Queenslanders trust to stand up to Peter Dutton. I know that Stephen Miles will stand up to Peter Dutton, and we will stand firm under a Miles Labor government. There will not be dangerous, risky, delayed nuclear here in Queensland. Everybody knows that the minute he got the chance, that David Crisafulli would roll over and allow Peter Dutton to build his nuclear power stations. I've talked about the impact of that, and Queenslanders know the difference in who they can trust on this.
Just very quickly, back on that press conference this morning with CS Energy, obviously it doesn't bode well when you have a new CEO, a new chair looking to be refreshed and renewed and then running away from the media. It's sort of PR 101, you stay and cop the questions. Perhaps the government should advise, maybe get some media training in the CS Energy space. We recognised that was going to be a challenging experience. That's why they let the press gallery know that that's how it was going to occur, and that I was coming here today to answer the questions that they couldn't answer. They took specific legal advice. They are involved in a range of matters, and they're not a new chair or new CEO. They've been around for a year now, and they've been at plenty of press conferences, and they've answered a lot of your questions, and they've answered lots and lots of questions from your colleagues at the table there previously in respect of what they had to say today that pertain to specific matters that are on foot. And so for them, they were really clear. It was a very lengthy statement they put. I think it's about 3 pages. There's a 300-page report that goes along with it. There's plenty of reading there for everybody. But the job of ministers is to respond to questions about government, and that's why I thought the Media Club today was a great opportunity. I'll continue to answer questions on this matter or any other matter so that Queenslanders have very clear knowledge of what's happening in their state, that they know where we're going, and that they can have comfort that the Miles government is acting in their best interests. I think any ABC producers watching is probably a Utopia episode in today's press conference. So feel free to watch all of the stories tonight. That does bring us to the end of the Media Club lunch today. I would once again like to acknowledge our naming rights partners, Virgin Australia Group, Brisbane Airport Corporation and Griffith University, as well as our other event partners. For more information on the Queensland Media Club's upcoming events, please sign up to the mailing list via the QR code on the back of the menu cards on your table. Thank you all again for coming to today's event, and can we please thank the Honourable Mick de Brenni.
Thank you very much.